word transgender, I had never heard of it, never encountered it. The only time I personally knew of someone who was transgender, they were expelled from my school. The reason? She chose to share that information. Later in my life, I moved to Colorado to attend CU Boulder, and one night I was invited to a house party hosted by a school fraternity. Foolishly, I went, but even more foolishly, I brought a boy as my date. Within a few minutes of being in the backyard, we were approached by 4 men. They identified that they were brothers of Sigma Pi and that this was their party. They began insulting my date, saying he was weird, they didn't like the look of him, and they wanted him to leave. They threatened violence. I intervened, putting my body in front of his and calmly explaining we meant no trouble and were leaving. They stopped me. I had become their new target. One said, "You're one of those faggots. Look at you with your faggot nails and your gay little nose ring. You're both faggots, aren't you?" I continued backing away, trying to leave as quickly as possible. They started shoving me, repeating, "You are one of those cool faggots, huh?" I put my hands up and I tried faster to escape when the blow came. I didn't see who, but one of the boys had hit me. I have a history of abuse and trauma which caused me to black out, and just for a moment I lost control, but when I came to, I was on top of the boy who had punched me, and I was hitting him. This was a costly mistake. As many of the trans people here already know, it is common to be beaten for being publicly transgender, but under no circumstance are you ever allowed to fight back. This was a lesson I didn't yet know, and will never forget. One boy put his arm around my neck, cutting off my breathing and locking me in one position. I raised my hands in surrender as the other 2 boys began pummeling my face and body with kicks and punches. The boy I had hit sprung to his feet and imprinted his size 11 boot into my right orbital over and over until my nose eventually collapsed. From the lack of oxygen, my vision began to fade, and it went dim. I believed I was going to die. But before I did, a voice rang out, "Let him go! You're killing him, oh my God, let him go!" One of the 80 silent spectators, a young woman, that was the voice they listened to. They picked me up and in one swift motion threw me into the alleyway. Without hesitation, I shot up and ran as fast as I could. I didn't look back. I never saw the young woman who saved my life. I walked 10 blocks home and drove myself to the ER, where I was questioned by a police officer who asked if I would like to report it as a hate crime. I declined because I was afraid of my identity being public. I was afraid of my family knowing that I was trans. Officer Mills's investigation lasted a week and ended when he asked the president of Sigma Pi to come forward with perpetrators. The president replied, "None of my boys said they did it." After my beating, I received facial reconstructive surgery. I still cannot wear glasses, masks, or hats without pain. 3 years later, my skin is still constantly uncomfortable and painful on my face. I will never breathe comfortably again. I share this story with you today, not because it is a part of my past, but because I do not believe that it has to be part of our future. I believe in a future for trans people. I see it so close that a trans boy, trans girl, trans person may live a full lifetime and not know the shame, not know the panic, not know the fear, not know the self-hatred, not know what it is to be diminished, not know what it is to be a target for the violence and anger of men. I see a future where every trans person may walk with their head held high and their heart full of love on open streets with people who don't stare them down. I see a future where they may walk into whatever goddamn restroom they need to use, where they may walk into any school they wish to study, any bar or establishment they want to use, and be received with the same respect, the same courtesy as every other person. I see a future where we will not only be tolerated, but celebrated, and celebrate each other and the unity of a people united. I see a nation standing together in solidarity and in strength, practicing the tenets of community, that we may embrace each other, no matter the person's creed, no matter the person's color, no matter the person's gender. I see it now. And I'm asking you, will you see it too? Will you stand in silence? Or like that brave young woman, will you speak out? Then speak out, I want to hear it. I'm going to say trans rights are, and you say human rights. Trans rights are! 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 What are trans rights? Now, there's more to this story. Because the Declaration of Independence states, and I quote, "Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." Now, I don't know about you, but I'm seeing the government doing a lot of things these days that I did not consent to. And I don't think I'm alone thinking that. Let's take a poll here. I'll run down my list of things that I just don't think are right. And if you also don't think they're right, you just say, the people don't consent. Yeah. Drummers. Doge-defying government. Fire the federal workforce. Mass deporting refugees. Wiping out black history. Erasing women's history. Censoring our libraries. Blowing USAID. Quacks in charge of the FDA. Denying trans people exist. Betraying the Ukrainians. Sucking up to dictators. Setting off a tariff war. Seize the Panama Canal. Annexing fucking Canada. And taking Greenland too. MAGA, we are through with you!
Brenda and Michelle? Brenda and Michelle, are you here? Okay. Next up, Brenda Howell is originally from Texas and has been involved with HIV care and services since 1982. Starting work in the laboratory doing testing and then working in HIV, STI prevention and services in the Texas Department of State Health Services for 25 years. She just retired from managing an HIV services program And she'll be speaking first, and after her will be Michelle Deaver, who is a community member who's lived in Bellingham for 19 years. She began volunteering with individuals living with HIV in 1992 and began her professional career in HIV in 1998. Today she's here to speak with us about urgent concerns on how reducing funding will impact the health of our nation. First of all, Brenda Howell.
Boy, this is pretty great. I think I was here for we first moved up here when the Women's March was happening. With that little pink hat. And I think it was about this crowded when we got here too. So I'm really excited to talk about it. I got asked to talk about it a little bit more. Okay. That's kind of unusual for me to have to talk close to a mic, but so I just I'm talking about kind of a history of what's happened with HIV along the way.
Medic! Call for a medic!
Medic! They need a medic!
There's a medic? Oh shit.
Can we have a medical person on stage left?
By the Ukrainian flag!
By the Ukrainian flag over here on my right side, stage left. All right.
Hold the Ukrainian flag up high! There you go!
Hey yo, fuck Putin too! Yeah! Yeah!
Okay, that's being taken care of. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of HIV care and services in the United States. And I started working in it back in the day when there was nothing. And we did basically a stick on the arm and then a Western blot, and people were diagnosed with HIV and were dead. And about 85% of them were dead within 6 months. We've moved on from that. I've been in this program that long, and I've seen it go from one drug into now where we have people that are living with HIV for 35, 40 years and living a perfect life. And when they do pass, they pass like the rest of us old people from something natural, which is kind of nice. I was tired of going to funerals. I was tired of seeing things happen. But I also remember the little things that happened that helped that along, like the gay men laying on in Washington, D.C. in the memorial out on the lawn during the Reagan administration to get something done, and it worked. It was a peaceful protest. They laid there. They made it work. That's what we need to do. There's other things that we also need to remember is HIV is not just just a gay disease. The LGBTQAI+ has been pointed out for years about that being the issue. It's not the issue. It's just a group of people that they can pick on, and we don't want that to happen. And from there on, we need to talk about prevention. Prevention is also a very important thing about HIV. We now have drugs that can help with prevention. Those individuals that are HIV positive are on medications with the viral load lowering down to undetectable, and anybody that are having sex with can be on a medication that would stop it. So we can end this, or we could end it, until Doge got into it, and now it's the gone revolution, where every program has been ended, and the people that have the knowledge are no longer around. I sat years ago on a board, or in a work group with Dr. Fauci. So I know this guy, and he started his work in HIV, and then went on to do what he did in NIH. These things have to exist in order for things to happen. These people have to be there, and the people that he has trained and gone forward, not just in HIV, but in other things. But prevention is really a key We need to maintain, we need to work hard, we need to keep the hands on those places, those groups that are providing the science and the negotiations in order to keep drugs available for people living with HIV and those that are routinely infected. And now, even more than that, Michelle's going to talk about a little bit more about when it comes to what will happen if it doesn't go through.
So this past week, there were sweeping eliminations of HIV prevention and public health infrastructure at HHS and the CDC. Now, I may be talking about HIV today, but I could just as easily switch that out for any communicable disease that any one of us are vulnerable to obtain. So please listen. Prevention and care are intertwined. The cheapest thing that we can do is to put money into prevention because care costs so much more than prevention ever will. Prevention funds health education. It finances PrEP, which is the medication that Brenda was talking about. We have a medication that you can take that will prevent you from getting HIV, and that is what this money funds. It covers testing. As soon as you know that you're HIV positive, you get linked right into care. You get insurance, you get respectful medical care and HIV treatment, and that's what helps you live a healthy life and prevent HIV from spreading to anybody else. You cannot separate these two. In cutting prevention, we tell our community that we don't care about you. HIV does not care who it infects, and we must act accordingly. Everybody deserves prevention. Everybody deserves respectful care. And if you are one of our members where HIV has played a specific and harming role, or LGBTQIA, BIPOC, immigration, we need to make more effort to make sure that you have the same level of care as anybody else does. Our mission to end HIV must be indivisible. I leave you with a quote from Paul Kawada. He's the executive director of NMAC, which is formerly known as National AIDS Minority. These devastating cuts represent a profound betrayal of the communities most impacted by HIV. Eliminating these offices and programs, it's not reform. It's a rollback of civil rights, public health, and decades of bipartisan progress to fight and end the HIV epidemic. What I say to everybody is hands off.
Hands off!
Where?
Right here.
We need a medic up here, please, at the stage. Thank you. Jade Phillips has lived in Bellingham for 5 years and loved every minute of it. She's the community organizer and data manager at Mount Baker Planned Parenthood. She's a passionate advocate for reproductive and LGBTQ+ rights and has dedicated her career to working in human services. Welcome, Jade.
Hello everyone, my name is Jade, and I'm the community organizer at our local Planned Parenthood. I am very honored to be speaking here with you today. We are at a time that in some ways feels unimaginable, so disconnected from the world that any of us has dreamed of, and in other ways is an inevitable breaking point of decades, if not centuries, of injustice. We are gathered here today with vastly different experiences, so I cannot assume how you are feeling right now, but I'm willing to bet that some of you are feeling the same way that I am. I am deeply concerned for the future of reproductive rights, and also for the rights of other marginalized and intersecting communities and identities. I am concerned for healthcare, for social services, for public lands, for fair elections, and more than I can name today. I'm angry that this fight is not over. I'm angry that this fight has just begun. And alongside that anger, I am proud. I'm proud of the work that we do at Planned Parenthood. I am proud to be in this space with so many people who care, and I am proud that this is our community. Alongside the countless injustices taken by the current federal administration, Title X funding now finds itself in the line of fire. Established in 1970, Title X funding was created to provide affordable birth control and reproductive health care to those with low incomes who couldn't otherwise afford it. Federal Title X funding was intended to ensure that every person, regardless of where they live, how much money they make, their background, or whether or not they have health insurance, has access to basic preventative reproductive health care like wellness exams, cervical and breast cancer screenings, birth control, contraceptive education, testing, and treatment for sexually transmitted infections. Planned Parenthood affiliates in Washington receive Title X funding as a sub-grantee through the Washington State Department of Health. And at this point, our organizations have not received notifications in any changes to our Title X funding, so we cannot say whether this will impact our health centers. That said, we do fully expect the Trump administration to take every excuse to come for all 40 Planned Parenthood affiliates participating in the Title X program, including your local Planned Parenthood. We know what happens when healthcare providers cannot use Title X funding. People across the country suffer. Cancers go undetected, access to birth control is severely reduced, and the nation's STI crisis worsens. However dire things may seem, we need to recognize the momentum that we do have and honor those who have laid the groundwork for us to stand here today. I have had the privilege of witnessing the phenomenal drive of activists working diligently to pass legislation that will protect the right to abortion and gender-affirming health care. In Washington, we have passed shield laws that protect abortion providers and sex education mandates that keep young people safe and healthy. I see the power that we have in this community. From the volunteers that show up week after week to walk our patients into our health centers so they can get the care they need without harassment, to the crowds at trans visibility rallies demanding safety and happiness for our friends and families, from the dozens of nonprofits supporting care and the folks organizing mutual aid, to those who have planned this incredible event today. We are all part of a complicated system that, admittedly, can be difficult to navigate, but I find solace in knowing I do not navigate it alone. Amongst the endless number of injustices that we all desire to combat, it is easy to feel unmoored. It is reasonable to feel lost. You may even feel paralyzed by the sheer quantity of topics that demand your attention and impact your daily life. It is fair to not know what to focus on. I urge you to choose one or maybe two topics that mean a lot to you and start there. If we get lost in indecision, we will never take action. As an organizer, I can't help but send you away from homework from today's rally. So on your way out, I urge you to consider 1 action that you will take, 2 things that you learned today, and 3 words to describe how you feel, and share it with those who could not be here. Every action that we take, including today's event, means something. It means that we are not giving up. It means that we will not permit ourselves to watch our rights be taken away. And it means that we will do everything in our power to ensure a safer and better future for reproductive and gender-affirming healthcare. Thank you, and if you want to learn more about Planned Parenthood, find us in the booth in the back.
In Bellingham on a myriad of issues, including worker and tenants' rights, funding child care and protecting the environment. He serves currently as the Community Engagement Specialist at RE Sources, a local environmental policy advocacy organization. Seth?
Yeah, my name's Seth Mangold, and I'm honored to be speaking here on behalf of Resources, which has been a local leader on protecting this region's land, water, climate, and communities for over 40 years. We're a regional environmental advocacy nonprofit that equips people like you to speak for your community and speak truth to power. We also run the Restore here in town, which is a 30-year ongoing experiment in building community through reuse. I want to start by acknowledging the intersectional nature of environmentalism, and I want to acknowledge the injustice of the arrest and detainment and outright kidnapping of Lalo and other immigrants in our community. Me and many others believe that he was targeted by ICE because of his activism, which included fighting for farm worker protections, for extreme summer heat and smoke, which are of course being made worse by climate change. Labor justice is food justice. Labor justice is climate justice. We join in the demands for Lalo's immediate release and condemn this administration's reckless and dangerous targeting of our immigrant community. We also recognize and give thanks to our Indigenous friends and partners who have been true leaders in environmental protection and restoration as original and ongoing stewards of this region's lands and waters. We recognize that the nature of the treaties in place, many tribes are uniquely tied to federal agencies for services and funding, are uniquely impacted by chaos and disruption wrought by this administration. And we stand with our trans friends and family and colleagues who are being put in harm's way by this administration. We condemn this persecution outright. Now, I'm sure many of you know that this is a dark few months for the environment, for science and public lands, and for environmental justice. The blitz on funding for science, research, staffing land management agencies has been relentless and far-reaching. These attacks have immediate impacts, and they're funding, and they're putting people out of work and putting communities in danger. Communities impacted by climate disasters can't rely on the federal government for aid and support. Freezes and cancellations of federal grant funding by this administration are putting the future of nonprofits like ours in real jeopardy. As bad as the present is, this is an even bigger assault on the future. Abandoning research for future breakthroughs, career pathways, deferred infrastructure investments, and grinding climate progress to a halt, defunding Social Security, healthcare, and education. It's flat out dystopian. We reject it. We reject this race to the bottom. We reject this race to the bottom for our environment, for workers, and for our communities. This commodification of everything has got to stop. We know that without clean air and clean water, nothing else matters. We know that later is too late when it comes to getting off of fossil fuels. We know resident orca and Pacific salmon, the cultural lifeblood of this region, are irreplaceable. What happens to them happens to us. We don't need more efficiency or better quarterly returns for shareholders, or more enemies, or more bad AI art. We need connection, community, and regeneration. That's what we try to offer at Resources, where your voice is heard loudest and makes the biggest difference through collective local action. That's your ticket from despair. We can't stop Trump from drafting executive orders, but we can prevent them from translating into policy disasters here locally. In fact, we can make substantial progress on environmental issues here in Washington. We just did by defending the Climate Commitment Act last fall, thanks to all of you. The rubber hits the road with local and regional plans, policies, and decision makers. We make sure environmental interests are representative at every table in town where important decisions are being made about how this region operates and grows. We connect you with a community of environmental advocates that is 13,000 strong and growing. We come together over volunteer events like beach cleanups and actions like phone banks, letter writing, online actions, and in-person rallies. If you feel like you could be, should be, doing more for this planet and for this country, start with this community. Join us. Come find our table in the back. If we haven't met, I would love to chat with you. Free Lalo, free Llewellyn, free Palestine, free Ukraine, free them all!
Thank you, Sam. Two more speakers. Homero Jose Carrillo. Jose is originally from Oaxaca, Mexico. He has lived in Whatcom County for many years. He's a business owner, likes to participate in matters that can improve the lives of the community. That's okay. To this end, he's participated on the Immigrant Advisory Board during its brief existence. Please welcome.
Yeah, you go.
It's not deportation, it's kidnapping!
Hi everybody, my name is Jose Garrido. Thank you for coming today. As an immigrant myself, I can see more personal the hate, the attack campaigns this administration is being carried out against hard-worker immigrants and their families. But let me tell you who we are. We are your neighbor. We are your friends. Our kids play together in the same football team at a high school. And we do sometimes see each other at church in Sunday service. We also pay taxes. Social Security is being deducted from our checks, even though we will never see those benefits when the time comes. This administration had convinced members of the community that we are criminals. And today, I'm here to say in behalf of those that don't have voice right now, that we are not criminals. We are not criminals because we are part of the community. contributed over the years in many positive ways to the country. I want to mention only two. During World War II, the Bracero program, it was a government-sponsored program to bring people from Mexico. Because the war shortage of the people, the workers needed to be here from Mexico, and they were promised good wages, housing conditions to the Mexican workers, helping the country in this economy. They did. Even though the conditions were not provided as promises. Some were exploited and sometimes not even paid or compensated on their work until years later. Another one was COVID in 2020. By March, everything was starting to shut down. Only essential jobs stay in place. Doctors, nurses, hospital staff, some part of the government, and guess who else? Yep, farm workers. The same farm workers that feed the country, that feed it before, that feed it now, and will feed it in the future. While everybody was sent home with a check, farm workers received none. Nada, zero. Injustice always being, sadly, the companion of the farm worker and the immigrants. And now it's being ramped up by this administration against the immigrants. Raids are happening every day all over the nation, taking families apart, and this needs to stop.
¡Viva Mexicanos! ¡Viva Mexicanos!
We have the right to speak out. It's a fundamental pillar of our society, and no one will take that away from us. Alfredo Juarez, Lelo, was targeted for that. Lelo is a leader in our community. He works for justice and the welcoming of the farm workers. And he was picked out by ICE like 2 weeks ago. He speaks his mind about injustice, but also acts to stop it. If those of you who don't know him, I encourage you to learn about him, Alfredo Juarez. We want him back with us, where he belongs. I will ask you to repeat, release Lelo 5 times with me, harder and strong, so he can hear us from here. Release Lelo! Release Lelo! Release Lelo! Release Lelo! Thank you very much.
Immigrants make America great. Raised in Tacoma with family roots that go all the way back to the early 1900s. Skip began his career as a public school music teacher and worked with the Washington Education Association representing public school teachers in Whatcom County. Skip became an active leader, serving on many nonprofit boards with other organizations. Skip currently serves on the Bellingham City Council. Welcome.
I am speaking up. Okay. This day is something else. It's wonderful seeing so many people here and hearing all of these people speak that represent the broad scope of our community. I am very, very, very appreciative of all the work that they do to make our community what it is. Now it's time to get down to brass tacks. I came from a community that embraced the struggles and all of the challenges we faced. They made great strides, making many achievements for the betterment of our community and of our nation. They made sure that the next generation was ready, and when the torch needed to be passed, they were ready to pick it up and continue the work towards total justice and equality. Now, I've lived in Bellingham for about 33 years, and in my time here, I've observed and continue to experience as we grow our city's evolution through the hard work that all of us have put in, all of you, to improve our trajectory in making this city one that reflects our community values and aspirations, and to ensure that we live in a community that respects everyone's right to be here. Now, that being said, I can't say the road has always been without some bumps. But in general, you have moved this community forward and not backward. But one thing that we can't forget is that these aspirations and these achievements have not been fully achieved and are now in danger of being ripped out from under us by this horrible situation that we're seeing with our current national administration.
I'll take it.
We all know what has to happen strategically to prevent the backsliding of the progress that has been achieved over generations through our struggles regarding basic human rights and a society that supports and benefits all of our residents and citizens. However, you have heard a lot today about things we need to do. And the consistent tactical response forward is not totally clear yet. But everything that you've heard today is a piece of that puzzle. The recent actions that have happened are just a tip of a huge iceberg that's beginning to hit us. And as the actions and events that will affect our community and our country unfold, and believe me, they will, no matter what role we play in our greater community, our responsibility is to show up and resist. It's really easy to focus on all of our achievements from the perspective of history. But we can't forget that those achievements haven't been fully achieved. For example, the efforts to blame all of our problems on the concept of DEI.
We do not consent!
Two planes crash into each other, it's DEI. And to remove it from the bedrock of our society totally negates the value within our communities of diversity and the realization that diversity, equity, and inclusion is justice for all Americans. Now, as we move forward, it's always good to remember that Rome wasn't built in a day. But if we lose our diligence and resolve and make no efforts to continue the struggle of making these a reality, Rome is going to be torn down in 15 minutes. And that is something that we cannot tolerate or have. Our attendance here is one hell of a first step, but we must also focus on what happens next. To say something from one of my TV shows that I used to watch called Star Trek, resistance is not futile. Resistance is necessary. We are not alone in Bellingham in this struggle to defend our democracy. That have been made in our country continue through our participation in our community, our state, and ultimately our nation. It is imperative that we must all individually and collectively do our best when called upon to persevere and keep these wrongs from happening. To go back to my day, we need to keep our eyes on the prize and push back, whether at the ballot box to ensure that everyone's vote is counted, responding to our community's needs when events like the recent arrests have happened, and helping all of our elected officials at all levels, even ours, to gain the courage and find the means to fight back. We must always remember that this is a huge moral moment in our country, and it is our responsibility to be vigilant in protecting the gains that have been achieved, continuing to do the hard work that moves the needle forward, and to lay the foundations for the generations that follow us to continue the struggle, making these gains an enduring reality that will never disappear. In the words of the late John Lewis, we all need to go out and make good trouble. And as we move, I'm going to close with a saying that my ancestors or my elders used to say to me: onward and upward.
That almost completes our program for this afternoon. I want to thank everyone for attending, and thank you for being nonviolent, kind to each other. If you do, I know that there was another rally planned for noon at the Federal Building. If you intend to go to that rally, and I don't know if it's still on, but if you do, please stay on the sidewalks, be kind to people, and don't get into trouble, okay? Or unless it's good trouble, okay?
My name is Philip. I'm part of the leadership team with Indivisible Bellingham. I want to thank you all for coming out here. And just know that there are thousands of gatherings like this all around the world. We are here because we're dedicating ourselves to do what is necessary to stop a fascist takeover of the United States of America. Because our Constitution says power does not belong to a small group of billionaires. It does not go to a small group of billionaires. Its power is to the people! Can I get a trombone?